Hello and welcome to Ask Bellco. This month we're discussing an issue facing many Denver area homebuyers: how to make your offer stand out in a highly competitive real estate market. And joining us to discuss it is Jamie Slavin, Bellco's mortgage sales manager. Jamie, as always, welcome back.
Thanks, Jack.
We talk about it a lot on the show. It's a highly competitive market. It's the busiest season right now for house hunting. So give me a picture right now out there. What's it look like for buyers?
Yeah, so normally around this time we see around 5,000 listings up for sale. Currently we're seeing less than 3,000.
Whoa, I was going to say I thought 5,000 sounded low. So less than 3,000.
Yeah, so you remember that a healthy home market is around 6 months worth of supply. At this point we're less than a month.
Whoa, so yeah, really. Okay, so we're not off to a great start. That's a little doom and gloomy for buyers, but we don't just do this show to depress people, right? We wouldn't have brought you on if you didn't have tips. Yeah. So what are some tips for buyers out there? What can they do to make their offer stand out, which is what we're here to talk about?
Yeah, so first I think, it's getting a good plan set up with your lender. I think hiring a local or area real estate specialist, somebody who knows when homes in that neighborhood near that school that you really want to be in are going to come on the market. Further, they probably know the other agents that are going to be selling in that area, which may give you a little bit of a leg up in terms of understanding what the seller's main motivating factors are behind their sale.
I hadn't really thought about that before, but I guess it's true. Not everybody's selling a house for the same reason, and understanding those reasons might make your offer stand out a little bit. So what are some kind of standard reasons that we see for sellers?
Yeah, so you could have, let's say somebody is they're getting a new job and relocating to another state. In that instance, maybe it's a time component, right? Like I need to, so it's a little less about the financial top dollar that I could get for the home.
But let's get this over with. I gotta go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another one, might be I've got a new home that I'm buying from a new construction company, and it's not going to be ready for another 60 days. But it's getting to the point where I need to get my home listed and sold and all these other things. So in that instance, maybe I want to say, hey, can I rent back my home for some period of time?
And we talked about that briefly on the last episode. This is the idea that after selling your home, you make an arrangement with a new buyer that basically you're going to become a tenant for a while until your new place is ready and rent it back.
Yep.
Okay.
Rent it back. Maybe as the new buyer, I'm going to let you stay there if it's a week or so. Maybe I'm going to just let you stay there at no charge.
Ooh, that seems like that would really make that offer pop.
Right. But in the instance where time is the major component, that might be the winning thing. So I think we talked about financial, we talked about time. Maybe it's empty nesting.
Yeah.
So kids have grown up and moved on, and now we're in this big home and we need to downsize. Well, financial is still going to be pretty important there, but it's probably going to be more around timing, peace of mind, some other things. Maybe even this idea around a personal narrative. Like if I'm a family and my family has flourished in this home and we loved it, I might want to see another family be able to move into.
So we're kind of playing into the emotional side of home ownership and the sentimental part of it for a little bit. Well, that's a lot of different motivations, and I guess I hadn't really thought about the idea of a personal narrative, but I guess it's important to remember that it's all people on all sides of the equation. The more you can probably keep that, you get more peace of mind. Okay, well then I'm gonna tackle let's say I want to tackle all of those motivations, really make my offer pop. So I'm gonna offer like over what they want. I'm gonna do rent back. I just say all of them. I'm gonna do all of the above. How's that gonna work out for me?
Well, I have a personal philosophy where I think a confused mind says no.
Ooh, I like that statement. A confused mind says no.
So if I'm trying to address all of those things and they're maybe not important to the seller, then is it really resonating with them? Yeah. Maybe not. And so I think the idea around knowing my budget, having a plan, having a great area realtor, and being able to talk with that listing agent around what that other motivating factor might be, we can tailor an offer that's customized to the seller that will really resonate with them.
More personalization and focus than kind of more of like a kind of shotgun blast at everything.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
a great analogy.
Yeah. Okay, so I've hired a local agent. I found a great location. It's in my budget. I've found the perfect house. What's next?
You know, it's really tailoring that offer. You know, some of the things that we see, people are willing to maybe waive or forego some inspections. I would never say that is a great idea.
That sounds like a bad idea. I guess because it sounds like a bad idea, I'm going to ask, why would someone do that?
You know, so if I don't have as many inspections, I might be able to speed the process along.
Okay.
I might not have to do any remediation in terms if I have a really old home.
Okay.
Right? Let's say I've got some old pipes,
Some substandard wiring or something.
all those different things. And you'd want to know that before you're the new owner.
Sure.
And
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a great payoff.
Yeah, I would never say that it's a great idea to waive an inspection.
Yeah.
$350 to $500, some of the best money you'll ever spend.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So we've talked a little bit about the rent back situation, but let's say I've bought a house and the seller, says to me during the process, says, yeah, I need more time. I can't do 30 days. I got to have more time. What options are available?
You know, we may offer an extended escrow. And what that means is 30 days is kind of the standard that's out there in the real estate market. But maybe is this seller, I'm okay with a 60-day escrow. If I'm in my apartment for another month or two, right, and the seller's got a problem, giving them the peace of mind around not having to move twice might be what wins out rather than an additional $3,000 or $5,000.
Yeah, coming back to that motivating factor again.
Right.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I've worked it out with the seller. I've found my perfect home. I got my pre-approval in hand. I have all of the necessary funds for the deposit. I got my big stack of all my stuff, and now I feel like I'm about to walk into the DMV with all my stuff, and they're going to look at it and they're going to tell me what I'm missing. So, Jamie, what am I missing?
So first off, buying a home and the real estate process, it's a work in process. So I think there is going to be a little bit of give and take in terms of I might need an added document here or there, and that's normal. You think of how complex and how nuanced mortgages and real estate are, it's to be expected that there's going to be a little bit of bumpiness. All the more reason to make sure that you've got some trusted partners that are on your side.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that kind of, we talked about it in the last episode, that internal board of directors, I think, is kind of what you're referring to right there.
I really think that is such a great thing. You know, we've got so many that are in our sphere of influence that can be our guiding forces or our internal board of directors. They can help us avoid some of the pitfalls that they may have faced. You know, recently, before we started rolling, we had somebody who was talking about, hey, I allowed my seller to stay in there for a week at no charge. And I mean, it was just a great anecdote around some of the different ways to help stand out in a really crowded space.
Yeah, and it seems the more that we talk about this, like it's about personalization. It's about the people on both sides of the sale and what they kind of both need out of it.
You're absolutely right. And I think, you know, for around 117 years in terms of how long the real estate or realtors have been transacting business, that's really been the fundamental play here. Is it's all about connecting people with home. And I don't think that ever gets old.
Yeah, it sounds great. It really does. But we talking about this really hot market, talking about that really low inventory, it seems to me like people should expect to pay more for their house than it's appraised at. Is that a fair assessment?
It's becoming a little bit more commonplace. You know, one of the ways that we like to describe it is you just think of you're borrowing tomorrow's equity today. So again, if it's about that long-term play, about establishing roots for, you know, your family to flourish, then I might be okay with foregoing the appreciation or the equity that I might see over the first year, if knowing that this is going to set me up for the next 20 years.
Right, and if you're, I guess if you're a family and this is the house where I intend to raise my family. Well, if that house is appraised at $300,000 and you pay $315,000, by the time you're looking to move to a new house after you've raised your family, theoretically that house is worth considerably more than what you paid for it.
Exactly
So
right.
yeah, borrowing against the future. That's a good way to put it. I always feel like I walk away knowing more about the subject after you come on the show. Any final kind of tips or resources you want to share with the folks?
Yeah, so one tip and then probably one, conversation. So the tip would be, some of the other very minor thing that might help to stand out. Let's say we're going to go and look at a home and the earnest money requirement on it is $2,500. And I write my offer with a $5,000 earnest money requirement. You write your offer with a $2,500 earnest money. Which one is going to be viewed more favorably by the seller?
You theoretically, unless maybe I'm offering a rent back or something like that.
Right. But again, tying to, what's that ultimate motivating factor for the seller? And then I'm also so confident that my financing and my loan's going to go through that I'm willing to put up additional money to show you how confident that I am in that.
You got me there, Jamie. You beat me on that offer. And what's the conversation?
So the conversation, I think it's much like what we've talked about before, Jack. And really, we would love to be a trusted advisor for any of our non-members who are out there in the community. Have a conversation about what that best plan might look like in order to have them be successful and stand out in a crowded marketplace. And then, probably, I would say not necessarily lastly, but most importantly, we want to be an advocate and in that part of that internal board of directors for each and every Coloradan that's out there.
That makes a lot of sense. And we talked a little bit before we got started, just because I heard some things in that last conversation point. We've talked a little bit about seller motivation, but it's also important to kind of make sure you have the right buyer motivation as well. Right?
Yeah, and thank you. That's a great point. So if I am just looking for seizing on that quick hit of, hey, I know that homes are rising very quickly in Denver and I would like to be part of that movement, well, maybe that's not necessarily the right play. But if it's that long-term, protracted sort of investment in community and family and things like that, well, maybe it is. And we'd love to show folks the right way to do that.
That sounds great. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you're going to come back and see us again soon.
I'd love to.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. Now remember, folks, if you have a topic you'd like to see discussed on the show, you can send it to us on social media using the hashtag AskBellco. Join us next month as we cover how choosing the right financial institution can actually save you money. We'll see you then.